G'day guys and gal, I'll be straight with you. Eldar lore videos generally don't perform very well, which I guess is a reflection of the tabletop and how it has taken over 20 years to remaster some of our core units. But we're doing it anyway, as we check out the next Pheonix Lord and his aspect warriors, Baharroth, the Cry of the Wind, the Pheonix Lord that has the most amount of fun. Flying is cool. Although Baharroth often isn't as front and center as Asuman, Janzar, or Margan Ra, he actually has some really sweet lore, being considered to be Asuman's best pupil and the first ever Exarch. He also has a special connection to Margan Ra due to them being brothers. Margan being an unmovable weapons platform, holding the line against any and all foes, whilst Baharroth is a swift, always moving unstoppable force. This would also probably explain why Margan is one of the only Pheonix Lords to never die, whilst Baharroth has died a shitload of times. Something occupational hazard. Before we get started, some time ago I started a project on the major minis to complete a range of Space Elf Lords in a fresh, unique style. The Death Lord, Fire Lord, Scorpion Lord, Avenger Lord, and now the latest and greatest, the Hawk Lord. Between GW's new plastic Pheonix Lords as well as the major mini Space Elf Lords, Eldar players can finally have complete, actually good looking armies. The Hawk Lord is a gem, coming with two head variants, one being tactical and the other one more ceremonial. Straight up, this model is on another level, the perfect blend of tactical and stylish, and man, the wings. At this point, I don't really care if this guy even sells well or not, I just want to paint him myself. With the range complete for now, I've created a Space Elf Lord bundle, where you can get all of them in the one purchase with a nice chunky discount, a value pack if it were. This won't be the last of the Space Elves on the major minis, but between this range being finished and GW actually releasing dope Eldar models, there isn't much else to sort out. Link to the Hawk Lord and the other major minis, including the Shark Daddy, Shadow Warden, and Cetron, is below. Today we'll go over the lore of Baharroth and the Swooping Hawks, detailing his origins, abilities, and the abilities of his aspect warriors. Let's get into it. When the Eldar clapped themselves really hard and birthed Slaanesh, they were pretty fucked. They had spent millions of years tasting wines and railing lines, not training for battle. The craftworlds only had small militias on them that would not be enough to deal with the new dangerous, hateful galaxy they found themselves in. Their savior came in the form of an Eldar called Asuman. Asuman was actually on one of the Eldar crone worlds that got overrun by demons, relying on survival instincts, willpower, and a bit of luck to survive. He would eventually escape, teaming up with a small band of determined survivors. With these survivors, he would found the first aspect warrior shrine, the Dire Avengers, and create the Eldar's new generation of elite warriors that would protect their dying race. The first Dire Avenger Exarchers would then go on to modify Asuman's teachings and found their own aspect shrines, becoming Pheonix Lords in the process. Baharroth was one such individual. He thought shooting a gun from a set position was kind of lame, but flying around, shooting and stabbing would be way cooler. However, founding an aspect shrine based on aerial winged combat is really fucking hard, especially when you compare it to the Fire Dragons or Dire Avengers who just need to stand there and kill people with their guns. Hence only Baharroth, who was considered to be Asuman's greatest student, could pull it off. Another thing the Hawk Boy had going for him was his insane speed. He was said to be the fastest Eldar to ever live, even faster than Janzar and Karahandris. For context on Janzar's speed, some Night Lords once heard what they thought was rain coming towards them, but it was actually the speed of Janzar's footsteps as she charged, dodging a storm of bolter fire in the process. It does make sense, you have to be pretty bloody quick if you want to be effective as a flying target. You could say Baharroth is the closest thing the Eldar have to Sanguinius, especially if he has a Farseer psychically communicating with him and showing him the future nearby. How do his wings work? After all, they are very artificial. Well, obviously I'm not a fucking scientist, nor does the actual technology for them exist, but from what I've gathered, the feathers are actually a bunch of small vibrating plates, which give Baharroth and his warriors energy to lift off. Then their flight is maintained by their aerodynamics combined with an anti-gravitic emitter in their wings. Actually kind of sounds like it could exist. Baharroth hasn't had it easy. His craftworld, Annian, was destroyed by a chaos army and his family was killed in the process. As such, Baharroth is ruthless in his retribution, constantly harrying and raiding chaos forces, destroying their outposts, assassinating their commanders, and just going balls to the walls. This would go a long way to explain his numerous deaths, as he is constantly putting himself in danger. If you are confused about me saying he has died a few times, as if it's just like a side note, is because what makes a Pheonix Lord is their ability to reincarnate. They do this via an Exarch of their aspect shrine, removing their armor from their corpse and then putting it on themselves. The Pheonix Lord's extra powerful spirit stone that houses their extra powerful soul will then merge with and mostly override the consciousness of the Exarch, bringing the Pheonix Lord back to life with their memories, abilities, and skills intact. I want to talk a bit about the Swooping Hawks now. Like their lord, they have special wings that give them similar grace and speed to Baharroth. After all, they have to keep up with him. In Eldar culture, their name means vengeance and retribution, brought about by Baharroth's home and family getting John Wicked. They rely on speed above all else, as they have some of the thinnest armor out of all the aspect warriors. If you shoot a Swooping Hawk, he or she will probably eat shit and die, but you have to hit them in the first place. They wield las blasters, a more effective and efficient version of the las gun used by the Imperium's armies, as well as a special grenade pack. With this combo, they can shoot from above and then do literal bombing runs, dropping frag grenades, plasma grenades, or even EMP grenades. You may have noticed that they distinctly lack melee capacities, and that's because they aren't fucking retarded. Flying at breakneck speed at an enemy and trying to cut them with a sword will more than likely just end up with you pancaking yourself into a ditch. If you're lucky, you'll hit the target you were aiming for and get a mutual kill. Only Baharroth is capable of it because he's a fucking Pheonix Lord. The Swooping Hawks just aren't good enough to be able to melee fight with wings on. It makes sense as well, using the Swooping Hawks as anti-air warriors, shooting down enemy ships out of the sky in their weak points or just EMPing them, or you can also use them as versatile air support. That is the smart way to go about things. To be effective, the Swooping Hawks must always attack together with a specific formation or strategy. They can't just fly around, crashing into shit and throwing grenades here and there. They have specific flight formations that will be led by an Exarch or Baharroth himself. If they need to take down an enemy ship, their formation will look a lot different to if they wanted to do a bombing run on an enemy stronghold. Alone, they are like mosquitoes. Together, they are like big mosquitoes with miniguns attached to their wings, and everyone they bite gets AIDS. Speaking of Swooping Hawk Exarchers, they are much the same as the rest of the Swooping Hawks. However, they either use a sun rifle instead of a las blaster, same shit but a higher rate of fire, or they use a Hawk's Talon, same shit but with a higher stopping power rather than a higher fire rate. Other than that though, same wings and a very similar helmet. Even the Exarchers do not use or even carry a melee weapon. What does Baharroth have in terms of war gear that his warriors don't? Well, for a first, a fucking sword. It's called the Shining Blade and was forged by the Daughters of Vol in the dying flames of a supernova. So yeah, pretty cool sword. As far as I can tell, it doesn't really have special properties like Asamon's sword does, but it's sharp and that's all a sword really needs to be. He also carries the Fury of the Tempest, which is an even more powerful las blaster than what his Exarchers use, with the high rate of firepower and increased stopping power, basically allowing him to one-shot enemy commanders or even bring down enemy aircraft with ease. His armor is also very thick and strong, as all Pheonix Lord armor is, meaning that even if someone does get a lucky shot on him, he'll most likely be able to tank it without too much drama. What has Baharroth and his Aspect Shrine been up to in more recent lore? Well, as evident by his official model being 30 years old, no, I am not joking, GW doesn't really give much of a shit about him. All he really does is raid cow shit. His most recent appearance was during the Ynnari's battle against Ahriman and the Thousand Suns in the Webway. The Ynnari were losing until pretty much all the Pheonix Lords appeared out of nowhere and started fucking shit up. Baharroth swooped in, and his first act was to shoot a Lord of Change in the eyeballs, melting them. He then cut its head off with his sword, going so fast that he appeared as a blur. After the battle, which ended pretty chaotically, he was lost, separated from the other Ynnari just like the other Pheonix Lords were. Obviously, they all just haven't died, and right now GW seems to be releasing a new updated Pheonix Lord model every couple of years. But I would say that each Pheonix Lord is currently wandering the Webway after getting separated, looking for a way to return to real space. As for the lore regarding his Aspect Warriors, unfortunately Aspect Warriors aren't like Space Marine chapters in that they are their own sub-factions. Instead, they are more like special unit types, so any cool battle or lore that involves them also probably involves a dozen other Eldar unit types. With their models being so fucking old though, like they're literally one of the first ever Eldar models to release, they barely get mentioned even in those battles. Bit of a shame though, like flying winged warriors are cool and easily one of the more unique Eldar unit types. I guess the only really notable bit of lore stems from two of their shrines. See, even though there are Swooping Hawk aspect shrines on most craft worlds, each of those shrines is slightly different. The Ashen Sky Shrine is more tactical, using better optics to plan their attacks more concisely. They also wear black armor and look very Spec Ops. Then there is the Shimmering Horizon Shrine, who always aim to have the sun at their backs as they charge in, fucking with the enemy's vision. They also hit a lot harder, hoping to shock and awe the shit out of the bad guys. Overall, a really cool but really unappreciated Pheonix Lord and Aspect Warriors. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then pick up the Space Elf Hawk Lord. Straight up, one of the best minis I've produced so far. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more swooping content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.